Hello and welcome to this video where we are going to go over the PTE repeated questions and how you can use it to get an extra edge in the exam. So let's get straight into it. Okay. All right. So things to consider. First of all, the question is like, does it work? Do repeated questions actually come in the exam? Yes, they do come in the exam. So you can get anywhere from 0 to 70% of the questions repeated depending on your luck. So we've had some of the students I've worked with have got like up to 70% of questions, key questions like fill in the blanks repeated in the exam. Some people have come to me and told me that, oh, I've not got anything. I've got like 0% in the exam. But more likely than not, it'll be somewhere in between, like maybe the 30 or 50% mark, if you follow what I'm saying. So it really does help, and I do recommend using it. I'm going to show you how to do it. Like I said, you can get an exam where you get 100% of the questions that are new, so it's not a foolproof method to prepare. The correct way to think about this and how I think about it is that practice makes perfect. So no matter what, you're going to have to practice questions for the PTE Academic. So whether that's fill in the blanks, repeat sentence, you're going to have to practice it anyway. So my kind of way that I think about this, if you're practicing it, might as well use the repeated questions to practice, so that if you get it in the exam, that's great. There's a higher likelihood that you're going to get it right. But even if you're not getting any of those repeated questions that you're practicing, you're still getting good practice. So it's going to help you regardless, because you're improving your skill level. So like, I don't see any reason why you should not use this in the exam, because other people are using it. You might as well use it. And you want to focus on the high value questions. So what do I mean by high value questions? I mean the questions, remember I shared this with you in the previous lecture. Now, high value questions are questions like repeat sentence, write from dictation, read and write, fill in the blanks, which even if you get one fill in the blanks, that's potentially like 5 or 6 marks that can go towards your reading and your writing score. So even if you get one question that's repeated, that can be the difference between like a 79 score plus score or a score below that. So you want to focus on these questions in particular, and I'll give you an entire list of what you should be focusing on. You don't want to be focusing on something like a multiple choice single answer, because you might end up doing like 200 practice questions for that, and you might get 2 questions right, but that's still like 2 points only towards your score. So you need to be a little bit smart about which questions are you practicing. And then for other questions such as maybe the describe image or retell lecture, there's no point in doing repeated questions, because I'm going to share with you templates in the speaking section, which after you memorize those templates, no matter what question you get, you're going to be able to solve them. So use templates where you can in the essay as well, and summarize in text. You can use templates. So there's no point in really practicing too many repeated questions for these question types. You want to keep that for the ones that I'm about to share with you. So these are the questions for listening and reading that you're going to practice 70 to 80% of the time, okay? And what's the site that you're going to be using? So there are many sites out there, many PDFs, documents and things going on, but based on our experience of dealing with different sites, we found that this particular website, ape.uni, is the best one. So use this as your primary source, and all the questions that are under there, I'm going to go to the site and show you how to use it, but this is a site that I highly recommend, okay? And what are the questions that you should go over? So fill in the blanks, answer short questions, write from dictation, repeat sentence, reword a paragraph, okay? Let me open the site really quick. Okay, so this is what the site looks like. You can create a free account, choose English or Chinese if you understand Chinese, but English otherwise. I recommend choosing English. Where was I? Oh yeah. So yeah, this is how you use the site. So for example, if I go into PTE practice and if I go under fill in the blanks, reading and writing, so I get an entire list of around 525 questions here, and there'll be another 300 questions or so for the other fill in the blanks. So that's 700 questions in total. And then I just go over the questions one by one. So I click on the first question, I enter what I think the correct answer is, I click on submit, I get a score, and there you go, I get my score. And then what I can also do is I can bookmark a question. For example, this is a question that I got many questions wrong, so I can bookmark it as red, and then later I can revisit these questions, and that way you just go through this one by one and you get better. Okay, so like I said, around anywhere from 0 to 70% of the questions get repeated from that list. Okay, and I recommend to go over it 2 or 3 times. Okay, minimum 2 or 3 times, especially if you're like maybe 20 points plus away from your desired score. You want to really hit this multiple times. The more you practice this, the more likely you're going to remember this. One thing to keep in mind is that the position of the blanks change. For fill in the blanks, even though you might get the same passage in the exam, the blanks might change. So for example, you can see right now the blank is over here, but in the actual exam your blank might be over here. So you want to just go through the paragraph carefully and not just focus on the blanks. Okay, so I was going over what are the important questions to practice. Fill in the blanks for sure. Answer short question. Now you might be thinking, answer short question, why is Steven asking me to practice this? Well, it's because even though this is kind of low scoring in terms of the other questions that are more important, this is relatively easy to complete in a short amount of time. So there are roughly around, I don't know, maybe like 300 questions that you can practice for the answer short question. So you can easily complete that in a day or maybe in a couple of hours. And that contributes a lot towards your listening score, like 9 points, if I remember correctly, to your listening score, and also a bit towards the speaking score. So even though it's not as important, it's something that you can do in like a couple of hours. So that's why I recommend also doing the answer short question. Write from dictation, aim for 90% accuracy. Again, you can use this tool. Repeat sentence, aim for 90% accuracy. When I say 90% accuracy, it's in regards to content. So practice until you get around 90% correct. Okay, because if you're getting less than that, then that eats up into both your listening and your speaking score. De-auto paragraph as well. A lot of the questions get repeated, and the more you practice, the better you get. And 1 week before your exam, you can't kind of see the bottom of that slide, but it says 1 week before your exam, go over questions from the latest available weekly document here. So there is a document which is, let me just click the link. So if you go into the downloads part of this, there is a weekly prediction file that they have here. You don't really need the latest one. It doesn't really change. We've checked it. So even if it's like a couple of weeks back, the questions are still going to be the same. So 1 week before the exam, I recommend reading through this because it's much more user friendly. And even the answer short question when you're doing, it's better to kind of do it through this list because you can just scroll through the questions relatively quickly. Okay, so this PDF you can kind of revise 1 week before the exam, again focus on those high value questions like we mentioned, but before that you can actually use the tool. Cool. All right, moving on. One warning from this site is that it's really good. They have a great collection of questions that come in the exam. However, what you do not want to use this for is the speaking section. Okay, so do not use their automated scoring mechanism for the speaking section. Based on our experience, it's not as accurate as the actual scoring system that is used by Pearson. And for you to kind of assess how you're doing in the speaking section, you just watch my speaking videos. I kind of go over what you should be looking at. So follow that video instead of using this, because people just end up getting more confused. They focus on the wrong areas, they focus on pronunciation and other aspects, whereas for you to do well in the speaking section, you just need to focus on oral fluency. So watch my speaking tutorial and do not rely on their scoring mechanism for this. Okay, cool. So that's it for this video. We've covered the question types. Just quickly to summarize, you want to focus on the high value question types. You want to focus on the questions that I've given here most of the time and use this, and it's going to give you an edge in the exam. All right, so I'll see you guys in the next video.